Hey guys, what's up? It's JR Cuber, and in this video we have another unboxing from thecubicle.us. This is another puzzle from the 4 cubes that I got with the YuLong WRM. So in this video we'll be checking out the YuLong V2M. So let's go ahead and pull that out. Here we go. And we'll save the rest for later. Okay, so the box for this cube is really cool. It's like super shiny and the colors are kind of shifting a bit. So a pretty flashy box for such a cheap cube, but let's go ahead and open it up and see what's inside. I really don't want to rip it, but it's got one of those boxes that you kind of can't open without ripping. So unless, there we go, pretty close. Okay, so here is the puzzle. So this is a YuLong, which I don't know if you guys even remember the original YuLong. This is the second version, but the original YuLong came out in 2013. So it's been about 5 years since that cube came out. It was like really late 2013, so a little over 5 years. But still, I'm sure a lot of you guys were not cubing 5 years ago, so you probably don't even know about the original YuLong, but that cube was awesome when it came out. It had a really simple mechanism, but it was still really good, and it was my main for quite a while. I got my very first sub 10 on it. So here we have the YuLong V2, and it's magnetic, and it's the same price as the original YuLong from all of those years ago. So it is $8. Which is super cheap for a magnetic cube, and I've heard it's pretty good, so let's go ahead and check it out. Alright, so first impression, it feels pretty locky. It's also like really loud. You can hear all of the catches. Like every time it catches, it makes like this loud snapping noise. Overall, the turning really isn't too bad. I actually kind of like it. It feels pretty sturdy, and it feels quite blocky, which is what you kind of want in a cube like this, because cheaper cubes tend to just feel cheap, and the layers feel too light and it's too unstable. But this cube actually has a decent amount of stability, which is pretty good. Generally, from what I'm feeling, like it can be fluid, but every time I try to do something a little bit more complicated, it just kind of catches quite a bit, which is interesting. Overall, it does remind me of the original YuLong. It's got a similar kind of feeling, but it actually, to be honest, it doesn't feel quite as nice as the original YuLong from all those years ago. At least what I remember of it. I'm sure if I pulled it out now and did some solves on it, it would not be as good. But from what I can remember of that cube, this just doesn't quite have the same kind of feeling that I really enjoyed with that cube. Let's test out corner cutting. It's pretty good. It actually, the cube feels a bit loose right now. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to tighten it up a bit, because when I was doing those corner cuts, I could feel the pieces kind of wanting to split apart a little bit, which is not what you want. So the catching issues that I just described, I've heard are pretty common with this cube, so I'm not surprised at all to see that the cube actually is catchy. As for the magnet strength, it's quite light, but you can tell it's there. It's not like it's just completely non-existent or anything, or just so light that it's hardly noticeable. I think it does, you can tell that it's a magnetic cube. I think for $8, this definitely is the best magnetic cube in its price bracket. I also think it's better than the Yushin Kylin right now. So the Yushin Kylin has kind of been hit or miss for some people. For some people, it's been performing really great. My Yushin Kylin is awful. Like, I don't know what I did to it, if it's my fault or if it's just the cube, but it's just super slow, and no matter what I do, I can't get it to be any faster. So right now, I'm liking how this cube feels a lot more than that cube. Something too that Chris Tran mentioned in that cubicle video is that there's a lot of like friction ridges on the pieces. He mentioned that there's basically a friction groove on every surface of every piece. So as you guys can see, there's these 3 pretty deep grooves all the way around the edge, and then on the corner, there's grooves on every side of the corner. Not quite as deep, but they're still there. So that's pretty interesting. That's something you don't always see with cubes. Usually you just get grooves on edges or corners, generally not both from what I've seen. It can be the case, but yeah. So overall, I think this is going to be a pretty decent little cube. Nothing too spectacular, but pretty awesome for like a starter speed cube. This is definitely something I would recommend if you're just getting into speed cubing and you know, just want to get a taste of what a good speed cube would be like. You know, this is going to give you basically everything you're going to want for that, and it's not going to break the bank at all. So I'm going to go see if I can set this cube up a bit better, hopefully see if I can fix some of those catching issues with the setup and do some solves on it, and I'll come back and let you guys know how I'm feeling after a few days. So I've been using the YuLong V2M for definitely more than a few days now. It's actually been a couple of weeks at this point, and I finally have a chance to finish this video about this cube. Just a quick little life update. I just graduated high school with my associate's degree, so that's pretty exciting. I'm hoping I can start posting a lot more consistently now, especially since I don't have plans to keep going with college at the moment. Being done with school definitely feels like a huge weight off of my shoulders, and I finally feel like I can move on with other things in my life, which I am really looking forward to. But for now, let's go ahead and talk about this YuLong V2M. This cube actually turned out to be a lot better than I was expecting after setup. There is no other cube that can compete with this cube in the budget, and I would even argue mid-tier category depending on where you draw the line price-wise, but I think this cube can even hold its own against a decent amount of high-end cubes, which is pretty impressive, and it definitely mirrors how I felt about the original YuLong. It does have a very harsh and crunchy feel that's very loud, but it's also fast and responsive and quite stable. I do agree that it's a bit catchy at times, but it's really not all that bad. My biggest complaint with the cube is that it has some problems that have basically been eradicated from most modern cubes, like pops and corner twists, which can be deal breaking, especially with how common they are. And it's mostly corner twists. Pops are rare, but have happened a few times, which really caught me off guard. However, corner twisting is a pretty consistent problem, which is definitely frustrating. It's really hard to expect much more from a budget cube like this though, even though something like corner twisting is something that most people take for granted as something they don't have to worry about anymore. But I really do like the nostalgic feel and the overall pretty great performance of this cube. I was actually able to get a 1024 average 12 on this cube, which is only 0.04 off my PB, so I was pretty happy with how consistent I could be. I think this is the perfect backup cube if you don't have the money to get another flagship as a backup main. In a pinch, this will totally serve your purposes, and just as a casual solving cube or as a starter speed cube, this one is pretty great as well, and one you don't have to worry about too much since it absolutely won't break the bank to replace. So those are my thoughts on the YuLong V2M. Once again, it's $8 on the Cubicle. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Thanks, of course, to the Cubicle for sending me this cube for free to review and for sponsoring the video. If you guys like this video, make sure to hit that like button, turn on notifications, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.